Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And if 2023 wasn't already stacked enough, well, it somehow just got even better as Sony confirmed a major PlayStation 5 exclusive that I know a lot of fans are certainly looking forward to, and that's probably putting things mildly here. Now, there's also a big PlayStation 5 leak on top of that, so really for you PlayStation fans out there, certainly stay tuned. Of course, though, we do have some other things to talk about today as well, including Valve's plans for the next iteration of their popular Steam Deck consoles. As a fan of the current Steam Deck, this certainly caught my eye, so we're going to talk about that one as well. As usual, though, let's just go and get to our first topic of the day, being about Tomb Raider. Now, I'd say that Tomb Raider has had a bit of an interesting year in the sense that it's no longer owned by Square Enix. Earlier this year, they, of course, sold both Crystal Dynamics and the Tomb Raider IP to the Embracer Group. Now, at the time, that was a bit of a shocker considering just how popular this franchise is. I mean, if you think about it, Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider IP are often viewed as one of the gaming's most well-known mascots, and somehow the Embracer Group acquired them for a very, very affordable price, to say the least. I don't know. Square Enix, they're a different breed, I guess. But since then, there has been some questions about what will happen with the Tomb Raider franchise from this point forward. Embracer Group, they're not really known for their big AAA games per se. They tend to focus more on the AA environment. So this is definitely a different combination for them. And everybody's kind of wondering, how much of an investment will they make on the next Tomb Raider game? Is Embracer Group diving into that more AAA environment? Is that what we're seeing here? And I guess technically they are, but maybe not necessarily in the way that we were expecting. So what's happening here is that the Embracer Group is not publishing the next Tomb Raider after all. They're not going to use THQ Nordic or any of their publishing labels, but instead, what they're doing here is that they're going to pass Tomb Raider over to Amazon out of all companies. Yeah, this is a little bit out of left field. I wasn't expecting this, but they did just announce a partner agreement today. You can see over here where they posted this. We are excited to announce that Crystal Dynamics has partnered with Amazon Game Studios on the next major entry in the Tomb Raider series, which will continue Lara Croft's saga in a single-player, story-driven, multi-platform adventure. Amazon Games will support and publish globally. So, yeah, a little bit of a strange turn of events here, but I'll say this. This is a big get for Amazon. Here in recent years, Amazon has had some success when it comes to gaming. We have seen that, especially last year, and it seems like they're kind of ready to invest more into the game industry, and I think that that's worth noting here. This could actually end up being a big story as time goes on. We could start to see Amazon as a game publisher a lot more if they do continue to have that type of success, and I'm telling you, with Tomb Raider, yeah, that could be a big thing for them. Now, the other part about this story, though, is that they did quietly confirm that the new Tomb Raider will continue the rebooted trilogy, which, personally, I'm all for that. I do think that the trilogy is phenomenal, and I'll be happy to see a fourth. On top of that, they did also confirm that it will be multi-platform, so we don't have to speculate if it's going to be exclusive to Amazon, if it's going to be exclusive to PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever. It is going to be multi-platform. Now, Capcom, they just dropped a new trailer for Mega Man Battle Network Collection, which revealed some new features and also its release date. It is now officially set to release on April 14th of 2023. So you can go and mark your calendar for that, but the thing that stands out to me is that Capcom legitimately, they seem to be putting a real effort into bringing these games to modern platforms. It's not just a bunch of ports with little to no effort put into them, but rather it does appear that they actually care about its online community. It will have complete online functionality, meaning that you're going to have casual battles, there's private matches, and then also you're going to have ranked battles as well. Players will also be able to trade battle chips, including some rare chips that were previously exclusive to Japan. So that's pretty nice to see. They do seem to be putting some real effort into these games, though as for the pricing, there's a few different options here. The full collection, which includes 10 games, will cost $60. However, they're also selling Volume 1 and 2 separately, just in case you don't want all 10 games, and if that's the case, you can get each volume for $40 a piece. Again, though, I mean, this collection will release on April 14th, and pre-orders are open right now, which includes 2 special skins if you want to go ahead and make those pre-orders now. Let's go and talk about PlayStation, though, because 2023 just got a whole lot better. I mean, I think we all kind of knew that the first half of 2023 is absolutely stacked. No question about it. Now, a lot of that is because 2022 basically got delayed into 2023, but suffice to say, there's a lot of games releasing in the first half of the year. Now, the second half, though, that's kind of where there's a little bit more of this mystery. And I think especially when it comes to PlayStation, they've kind of been tight-lipped on their first-party lineup. I mean, they had a great year in 2022. They've released Horizon Forbidden West. I thought that was an excellent game. They had Gran Turismo 7. And of course, they had God of War Ragnarok. All three of those are huge and very popular titles. But what's next for PlayStation 5? That's kind of the question here. Well, I think one of the games that's immediately going to come to mind is obviously Spider-Man 2. Insomniac Spider-Man has put up some huge, just massive numbers on both the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. And really, that's the game that I single-handedly give credit for the rise of movie game adaptations, especially when it comes to Disney. I mean, really, ever since Spider-Man had its huge amount of success, it seems like Disney all of a sudden, something just kind of lit up for them. It really feels like pretty much since then, they're just kind of like, yeah, we need to double down on gaming from this point forward. And now we have like a bajillion Star Wars games in development. There's also seemingly a new Marvel game announcement around every single corner. They're all in on gaming now. And I think a large part of that is because of Spider-Man's success. You know, actually between Spider-Man 2018 and then Miles Morales, they've sold 33 million copies, and that's only growing with them on PC now. I mean, even with Miles Morales, that's been one of the most successful PlayStation 5 games thus far, which is kind of crazy considering that's not even a full-fledged sequel. It's like a 6-hour spinoff, but it still sells millions upon millions because that's how popular and well-received that original game was. So, I mean, with all that in mind, without a doubt, Spider-Man 2 is one of the biggest known games in development across the entire game industry. Not just for PlayStation, but yes, for the entire game industry. It just is. And the great news here is that we now have an official release window to look forward to. Yeah, that's right. Insomniac Games in a PlayStation blog confirmed that Spider-Man 2 is set to launch on PlayStation 5 in fall of 2023. As you can see here, they continue on to say, following the events of Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Spider duo of Peter Parker and Miles Morales are back in the next blockbuster action chapter of the Marvel's Spider-Man series. Much is still to be revealed about the game, and going off the quality of the past two titles, we're bound to be in for a fantastic new original Spider-Man adventure. So it's still not an exact release date, but they are starting to narrow things down here. And I mean, honestly, just getting that confirmation that it is indeed slated for 2023, that's massive for the PlayStation brand. It automatically makes for a bright 2023 without knowing anything else. It also kind of curbs some of those concern rumors that we often see floating around this year that happened with God of War Ragnarok, where there was a lot of speculation that it was going to be delayed to next year until they finally came out and confirmed it themselves. With Insomniac confirming this so early, though, I think that's a good indication that they're confident in a 2023 release. I think now it's just really a matter of when and where we're going to see this game rather than if. It's going to happen sometime in 2023. For that matter, though, I mean, I have to say, Insomniac, they are truly, truly impressive. Really, if you think about it, in the first 3 years of the PlayStation 5's life, they've released Miles Morales, which has been insanely successful. They've released Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, that's an excellent game. And now they're looking to release Spider-Man 2 in 2023. Insomniac Games, they are truly, truly something special. Now, as for this other PlayStation game, now this is just a rumor for the time being, but a leak is claiming that Naughty Dog's next game is The Last of Us Part 3. So this is coming from viewer Anon, which apparently has been accurate when it comes to entertainment type of leaks. They apparently leaked some information for The Last of Us show accurately, and according to them, you can see here, they say, well, I'm not watching anything, so Druckmann is what you're trying to say here. Druckmann's next game is The Last of Us Part 3, which is currently in production at Naughty Dog. They then continue on to say that Uncharted will be handled by another studio, Factions is coming first, not sure on the new IP. So, there you have it. If this leak does prove to be true, Naughty Dog is looking to do more with The Last of Us going forward. And if you think about it, it does kind of make sense. It does seem like Sony's investing a lot into this IP. They have the show coming soon, and they also, of course, just remade the first game. It definitely seems like they could have more in store for this IP. They seem to like it. It reviews very well, so yeah, makes a lot of sense. The thing for me, though, is that I do wonder if they can bounce back after The Last of Us Part 2, because that was a very polarizing game in terms of its story. Some people loved it, and then others just absolutely hated it. I don't really want to get into that topic, honestly. It's always very controversial, so I'm going to try to move on from that. But yes, to say the least, there's some very mixed emotions when it comes to that game. And it did seemingly affect its sales in the long run. The Last of Us Part 2, at the time of its launch, was the fastest selling game ever, reaching 4 million sold in like 2 days or something like that. But then by June of 2022, they announced that it had sold 10 million units, which, I mean, that's good and everything. But it's also a large drop-off compared to the first game, which had sold 17 million units by 2017. Now, to be fair, I mean, that game was on the market for longer, and the first game did also have a remaster on a PlayStation 4, so it's not really a one-to-one comparison, but it did seem like there was a fast drop-off for the second game, and I do wonder if that's because all of the mixed reactions it got. Nonetheless, though, I still think that Part 3 could be interesting, regardless of what you think about Part 2's story. I mean, whether you hate it or love it, it's still one of the most impressive games ever made. Its combat is brutal, it's realistic, and really the animations are just industry setting. So the talent is clearly there. And with the PlayStation 5, I can only just imagine what they can do with its power. Now, as for Uncharted, now this is the series that I truly, genuinely love. It does look like that series is continuing on as well, according to this leak, just from another studio, which is something that we have talked about various times. This is not new information because based on some different job listings, it does indeed look like Sony is creating a new internal studio, and that studio will have Naughty Dog overseeing its development early on. Now, we'll see if they can pull that off, but as a big Uncharted fan myself, I am hopeful that they can. Either way, though, I mean, this is a pretty good day for you PlayStation fans out there, as it looks like some pretty major games are on the way. Moving on, though, Valve is being pretty open about their future plans for their Steam Deck platform. Now, this console's not even quite a year old yet, and it's only now getting to where it's readily available, but it has had a lot of success so far. They have already sold more than 1 million units, which that's really good for a console like this. If anything, I'd say Valve has certainly proven that there's a real market for a mobile Steam handheld. And with that, they're already planning for what's next. Now this was previously suggested and everything. This doesn't come off as a big surprise, but in an interview with The Verge, Valve was pretty open with what they want to do with a Steam Deck updated model. Now, this is not a pro model in the sense that it'll be a power upgrade or anything like that, but rather in this interview, they pointed to two major things that they want to address, and that's its screen and then its battery life. They did note that they want to keep its performance the same unless there's a major breakthrough or something like that. But when it comes to its battery life and its screen, that's two things that they'd like to improve the most. And really, I'd say that those are the two things that I see most fans bring up, especially when it comes to the battery life. I think for myself, the Steam Deck is a phenomenal console. I've been playing around with it myself, and I love this thing. But if you intend on playing more graphically demanding games, don't necessarily go in expecting to have just hours upon hours of uninterrupted gameplay. It drains pretty fast, so fixing that would be a major plus. One thing that they mentioned about its battery life, though, is that they also want to make it easier to replace. Now, that would be great because it would kind of give fans more control of their device, and it would also make the Steam Deck a little bit more future-proof. You know, over time, these batteries, they're going to get weaker, so being able to replace them easier, that would definitely be very much appreciated. Now, as for the screen, though, there's not really an issue with the screen itself. I think it's fine for what it is, but it is an LCD screen, and there are fans like myself that would prefer an OLED screen. Really, an OLED screen is a huge upgrade. I mean, we've seen that on the PlayStation Vita, we've seen it on the Nintendo Switch. It is a big upgrade, and it's why I've always recommended fans who prefer to play in handheld mode, just go ahead and spend the extra money, get the Switch OLED instead of that standard Switch model. It is a night and day difference. So it was a little disappointing when Valve didn't have that option right out of the gate. I know for me, I would have been more than willing to pay extra for an OLED model, but it does look like that might change sometime in the future. I do still find it unfortunate, though, because for fans like myself, who's already spent a bunch of money, I mean, for a lot of those people, they might not want to go out and buy it again just for an OLED screen. I guess that's kind of where waiting pays off. And that is something to kind of note here. If you've been eyeing the Steam Deck for a while, but you're not entirely sure of it, maybe you want to wait for that OLED screen, maybe you want to wait for a better battery. I mean, if you're willing to wait, it absolutely does sound like that they do intend on releasing an updated model eventually. How long, though? That it's kind of hard to say. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, what already announced Xbox game are you most hoping to see get a release in 2023? And as you can see here, the winner was actually Avowed with 30% of the votes. Fable took second place with 26% of the votes. 21% of you all voted for Hellblade 2, 11% for Perfect Dark, and then 12% for Other, being State of Decay 3, Indiana Jones, etc., etc. So yes, Avowed did come away as the winner here, and I think that's actually a good thing, because I think that out of all of the games on this list, that one's probably one of the more likely games to release in 2023. Hellblade 2, I think, has also got a strong possibility as well, just considering we have seen gameplay of that one and everything. But as for Perfect Dark and Fable, it's hard to say when these games will actually release. I mean, we're already getting indications that Fable's development is a little bit on the slower side of things, and then Perfect Dark is kind of a mystery. We know that Crystal Dynamics has come in and helped with that game, and that should speed its development up, but I'm still not entirely sure that it will release in 2023. So I think Avowed is probably the safe bet here, because it does sound like it's coming soonish. And I mean, this is Obsidian's next big RPG. It's got some Elder Scrolls vibes going on, and we all know for a fact that Obsidian knows how to make good RPGs. And I'm very, very excited to see what they can do with Microsoft backing them. I think it only gets better knowing that it's also set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. And they're supposedly doing some interesting things with its magic-based system. I mean, I think if anything, on paper, this game sounds very, very exciting. I know I said earlier that Insomniac Games is special, and I absolutely meant that, but I'd also say something very similar when it comes to Obsidian Entertainment. So, yeah, I'm with you all here. I'm going to also go with Avowed on this one. I mean, if I was confident in a 2023 release, I'd probably say Perfect Dark, but I'm not entirely confident that it will. That is something that I did notice in the comments, though. Terrace Rosebloom said, I would choose Fable, but I know it's just impossible for that game to release next year. So my vote goes to Avowed. And I did see several other comments similar to this. It right now doesn't appear Fable will be a 2023 game. We talked about this yesterday, and that certainly affected the results here. At the same time, though, even with all that, I mean, it still came in at second place, and I think that kind of shows just how excited fans are for the next big Fable. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.